Okay, yeah, this is the last topic for advanced optimization technique one. So basically, what we learn from we have learned a lot of techniques like exact algorithms and then approximation algorithms, and then at the last time we learned an example of approximation algorithm, which is meta heuristic algorithms. That is particle swarm optimizations. Okay. Well, several techniques that we learn today is more to evaluate the performance of those not particular, performance or comparing which algorithms will perform better. Okay. For example, especially for meta heuristics, this is an important topics because when you see again the characteristic of meta heuristic. First, okay, it works fast, and then it promise you that these algorithms or this type of algorithms will able to escape from the local optimal, so that can give you a good result, hopefully near to the optimal solution. But remember again, meta heuristic cannot promise you the result that they generated at the end of the searching is always optimal. We don't even know if we even not know that whether the result that the algorithm generated is optimal or not. Yeah, there is no way to guarantee that the result is optimal. So based on that premise, now you need to think again. Huh? So it's not optimal, but it promised that this is good. So how do you know that this result is good, right? You need some parameter or some performance indicator to judge whether your algorithms work good or not. Okay. Okay, and okay, this is the contents. Yeah. So basically, it's not much, not many. So basically, just the basic. But later on, we will touch down a little bit on the how to use statistics to compare the performance of meta heuristics. The course outline is mostly it should not be this one, but we don't have another one to represent. But let's say statistical testing is also part of mathematical modeling, so perhaps this is still inside of this CO. Okay, I start again with this one. Why? Just to remind you, there is a lot of meta heuristic in the world. If you use this topic, I think the most default or the most common question that you are going to be asked is like, why do you use that algorithms? Why don't choose this algorithm? That is certainly a question that always being asked by other researcher, other reviewer, other peer, something like that. Let me give you example from what I have. I often use algorithms called simulated annealing. If you check my profile, I have a lot of publication on that one. I've used that one for my master degree thesis, dissertation thesis, even though with so many modifications. Okay. Every time I present my algorithms for any particular problems, there must be one reviewer or one committee or one viewer asking, why do you use simulated annealing? I have algorithm particle swarm optimization, or I have variable neighborhood search, or I have any so many algorithm. Why don't you use the algorithm that I developed? Okay, it's difficult to answer actually, because if we say that yeah, your algorithms perhaps good, perhaps not, so why don't I use my algorithms that I already know, something like that, then they will think that this is not the researcher way. Research should always be curious whether there is a better algorithms or something like that. Okay, so one thing for certain is like this. You need to show whether your algorithms perform good or not. You need to able to show that. There is a lot of way to show that. Okay, first, before you able to show it, you need to know how do you measure the performance of that algorithms. That's one thing you need to think about. Okay, but anyway, for this slide, the story is like that. Always be a people asking you what algorithm, why you use this algorithm, and then even though when they not talk about that, they still see, let's say I have simulated annealing, and then I use different parameter for my simulated annealing. Or last time we talked about PSO. PSO have several parameters, right? PSO can move to based on their own instinct. PSO can move based on the social that they have, the social knowledge that they have, or based on their personal experience that they have. Those PSO formula, yeah, V something something. When you divine those parameter differently, we can think that one is as a different PSO variant. For example, PSO that have the parameter of social learning weight is equal 0, it means it doesn't think about social learning. It only use the cognitive learning from its personal experience. So, and then you have another PSO that you configure that it doesn't consider the other way, like the self learning, doesn't have the cognitive learning. It only see from outside, from the social learning. So there is two variant 1, variant 2, and then you try to run this algorithm to solve a particular problem. You have two result, right? Result 1, result 2. Of course, because PSO is a meta heuristic, it involves stochastic process. There is a lot of random inside of those process. Then the result may be different, right? Now they will ask you, how do you compare PSO variant 1 or PSO variant 2 is better? Okay, this is the tools that we learn today. Okay. Okay, now first you need to know, how do you measure a good meta-heuristic algorithms? Okay. It's not like you how to say, by setting it like this, you can use analytical tools to predict the algorithm will be work like that, something like that. It's not that easy. So there is a lot of things need to be considered. For example, sometimes because meta-heuristic involves stochastic process, if you give them a long enough time to find the solution, sometimes it can achieve the better one. Let's say you run PSO for 10 minutes compared to 1 hour. Of course, 1 hour have better chance to find a good solution compared to 10 minutes. But sometimes, even only 10 minutes, it can get you better result than the 1 hour. Why does it happen? Yeah, because there is stochastic process inside the PSO. In fact, any meta-heuristic normally, there is a random number generation there. Of course, this is one thing you consider, and then, but okay, this one meta-heuristic has stochastic process. It makes it the result varies time to time. Okay. Now, when you need to compare between an algorithms with new algorithms, you need to actually think about whether my comparison is already apple to apple or not. Don't don't get trapped into a comparison that actually you comparing two different things. Okay, so be careful with that. So normally we will compare for sorry, why my cam is doesn't work. Okay, so normally you will have four common indicator to compare the performance of meta-heuristic algorithms. Okay, And each category, each indicator have their own way to represent and to calculate it. What I mean by orange versus apple is that when you want to have a beta heuristic in terms of the effectiveness, for example, how good is the quality of the solution? So it will be based on the objective value of the optimization problems that it can generate by the solution that they found, the algorithm found in the searching process. So you compare the quality with the quality. Don't compare the quality with the speed of this algorithm solving it. Even though sometimes we will need to obtain this quality of solution, this amount of quality, the speed will need to be longer, for example. That is the explanation, not the comparison. Okay. You can do like that. Okay, this algorithm in terms of effectiveness is very good. Can get a very, very, very good result. But the computational time also long, very long. It's not justifiable. But the other algorithms, yeah, the quality may be not as good as that one, the previous one, but the speed of finding the solution is bearable. Okay. This is another way to represent the comparison. But when you compare, oh, this is the speed and the effectiveness, of course, cannot. Okay. So quality of solution, the efficiency, it means like, efficiency means like this. Along the way, meta heuristic will try to find a better solution, better solution, better solution, better solution. And sometimes at some certain point, at some certain searching time, the solution that it found, it's not improved anymore. Okay. So it means what? It means that you already, either you are already get the best solution, you are almost at the best solution because it's not improving anymore, or you are trapped in local optimal. Yeah, sometimes the solution is not good yet, but doesn't improve. This in you trapped in the local optimal. Okay, efficiency means the speed of convergence of an algorithm. So it doesn't really say that much about the optimal solution. So it's only considered the speed, efficient to give you solution, but we don't know the quality of the solution. Okay, but sometimes as long as the quality, the solution is feasible, sometimes we just still using it also. So sometimes efficiency is also considered as one main factor. Another thing is consistency. Okay, meta heuristic algorithms work very time to time. Okay, the first time you run it and then finish, you get this result. Next time you run it again, you get another result. Why? What's happening? Because it's a stochastic process. Okay, so we also need to think about how consistent your algorithm can give you a good result. Okay. And then robustness. This one is another layer. So 1 to 3, you do in the one problem. Okay, you check based on the one topic. So you can use so let's say you compare PSO and simulated annealing in vehicle routing problems. So you can choose based on the quality, based on the efficiency, or the consistency. Okay, so 3 of that one is possible. But another thing, some people also often ask you about, oh, this is VRP problem. Can I use it, the algorithm for machine learning, or can I use it the algorithm for machine scheduling or inventory routing or any other problems that I can use the same algorithms? Okay, that is the indicator of robustness. Robustness means whether your algorithms that you develop can be applied in the different type of problems without having so many changes. Okay, so those are the key indicator of comparing with heuristic performance. And then okay, but the best way to carry out those comparison, those 1 to 3, is to assess them based on experimentation. So you need to, because you are going to use an optimization problem, so you will use those problems to be your experiment test bed. to measure performance such as quality, running time. Okay, and then all those four key indicator: solution quality, solution efficiency, and solution robustness. Okay, first, solution quality. Solution quality is measured normally based on the objective value of the best solution found in the algorithms that you use to solve the one particular problem. For example, the VRP. Let's say you try to use the PSO for VRP. You want to see whether it's minimized the total travel cost or not, something like that. Okay. And then this one, normally there is a trade-off. Trade-off means where is it? Okay. Normally there is a trade-off between solution quality and computational time. Normally, if we want to use a better solution quality, we will let the let's say this is minimization problem. So if you want to minimize the solution quality, you get the better one. You normally will allow the computational time a little bit higher, because there is maybe they will have chance to find a better solution if you given enough time. Okay, but again, there is something called like phenomena when you have given enough time, the solution quality is not improved anymore. Okay, like this. This one is called convergence. Okay. If your solution already convergence, it is better you cut it. You finish there. No need to take it more longer, something like that. Okay. Okay. Now we talk about the running time. Running time or computational times, it will be really depends. Really depends on how your programming skill, how your hardware, how your software. What is this hardware? What is the software that you are using it? So normally we will not compare or not communicate not judge the algorithm based on its running time. Moreover, if your algorithm is run using very high-end computer, and then you compare with the people that are using the very low specification of computer, then that's not fair. Moreover, yeah, like I said earlier, that this approach is not really, even though this approach is not really suggested, but some people still using it because it's easy to do, just calculate the running time. But perhaps the more fair or fairer approach is to report the number of function calls. Okay, what does it mean? Running time, you need to find what kind of function normally called by your algorithms. Okay, and then you see that, oh, maybe the function that calculate the objective. Okay, if that's the case, then you check how many those functions being called or how many times you use that function. That can represent how the running time of your algorithm. That is also common practice used in the paper. Okay. Then communicating time among processor or different spec, you if you need to do it, you can use clock time. Okay, clock time. There is a function for that to calculate it. Okay, so this one. Another thing is, it is common to tell the reviewer or the in your paper, whenever you publish it, you should tell what kind of spec you are using, the machines, the spec of your machine. Why? Because some people can need that information to be able to understood that okay, this is why his computational time is fast, this is why it's not, because later we will need in that information if you want to compare the performance of calculators. Okay, normally I talk only that two first, because the second one, like the efficiency, robustness, it is difficult to calculate or to measure. Robustness is possible, but the concept is the same, still using the objective value. But how often it can generate the objective value, as good as possible, something like that. The consistency is like that. So now one particular tools that is straightforward and easy to use for comparing the meta-heuristic algorithm. Of course, the use of statistic, simple statistic, inferential statistic, like to say whether it's different, significantly different, or the same, something like that. Okay. Why we need to use statistic? Because it already proved, and then it's an advanced or well-developed techniques already, and it has the systematic framework. So you do, there is no difference when you compare a statistical result between, let's say, you doing treatment for your let's say you have a patient, you are a doctor, and then you give treatment to your patient using this medicine, and then you compare with whether you give treatment different medicine, whether it have the same effect or not. Basically, you use that kind of statistic to use to compare a meta-heuristic algorithm. Okay, let's say meta-heuristic is the medicine. Okay, for your problem, I give you PSO. Okay, for your problems, I think the same one. I will just use SA. Now let's see which medicine give you better output. Okay, the same way. The statistical behind it the same. Okay. So next, okay, and then mathematical, it provide the framework, okay, and easy to replicate, and then it's provide the mathematical foundation. So the probabilistic measure can be how to say, it's supported by the community. Okay, so whenever you use statistic, it is easier to justify the result. Okay, but the worst thing is it may need multiple experiments to confirm the advantage. Okay, because statistical tools normally have their minimum own number of samples and stuff. Okay. Well, it's pretty basic actually. You will normally test the performance between either 2 or more algorithms, right? Okay, let's say, oh, I have PSO, but I have 2 variants, so 2 algorithms. That one considered as 2 algorithms, even though it's the same PSO. Or the other case, like I want to compare SA, VNS, Tabu search, and any other meta-heuristic for these particular problems. Okay, that's also possible. So basically, compare the performance of multiple meta-heuristics. And of course, we will need to use the descriptive statistics, sample mean, standard deviations, but those numbers sometimes is not adequate to represent whether your algorithms work good or not. Sometimes we see algorithm 1 and algorithm 2 have gap, a little bit of gap, but whether this gap is significant or not, that's another question we will ask. And then let's see from this one. You have 10 experiments to minimize function fx, something like that. Algorithm A, the first algorithm that you propose, can give you 100 standard deviation of 10. Okay, this is good because it's smaller than this one, 105. But this one, deviation mean that your algorithm is not robust, not consistent enough compared to this one. This one, deviation 4, maybe only like plus minus 4. Let's say we can say it like that. This one plus minus 10. So which one is better? Right? We cannot justify based on this one only or this one only. Okay. So you need statistical comparisons tools. For example, here, or hypothesis testing, we call it. Hypothesis testing have 2 paradigm, parametrics and non-parametrics. Parametrics is more precise in terms of the calculation, and then it's more, well, people call it trustworthy, but yeah, but that's one. For parametric tests, you need to fulfill the requirement whether you can use the parametric test or not. Okay. But as an alternative of parametric test, you can use non-parametric tests. Basically, what I did here is just for this one, the non-parametric test is this one. If you cannot use this as the parametric, you can choose this one. It's almost give you the same conclusion, even though if you are really statistician, you may want to argue on that. Okay, but normally we first prioritize to use parametric test to see, and then if not, we will use the non-parametric test. Okay. Okay, this is just example. Okay, hypothesis testing. First, we have the review of Z hypothesis testing or using Z test. If you want to use that one, we need to use that one. If we want to test that one using parametric test, there is several assumption here. If I'm not mistaken, that we need to check whether those tests can be applied for our problems. First, we need to check the distribution of data that we are using are normal, and then the population of the variance is known for Z test. Okay, if for T test, maybe not the population, the sample is already enough. And then variance of the population are assumed equal. Okay, I am not often using Z test because for meta heuristic, the population of the variance actually not known. Okay, because we don't know the population because there is several instance you can test, you can try, right? So there is no population there. So instead of using Z-test, you can use student t-test. When the null hypothesis of student t-test is to check normally whether two are normally distributed distributed population are equal or not. Okay, so you want to check whether it's equal or not. If not equal, so it means significant difference. Significant difference means one is better than the other one. Okay. It can be useful for the number of the algorithms or sample is small, and it can be used for comparing different meta heuristics. Okay, this is a little bit of picture that illustrate you this. There is one tail and two tail of t-test, student t-test, and then you can calculate for one tail, it represent like this. Okay, if this one, if it is belong to here, so it still reject the still accept the zero, the hypothesis, null hypothesis. But if it's belong to this area, the value of the t-test statistic that you calculate, then it's reject. It means that there is differences. Okay. So now you need to think also, what do you want to achieve for your algorithm? For example, oh, I want my SA is better than the PSO, even though I don't know the data. So you need to check. If you want to say it better, first you need to check which one tail or two tail. If the value can be in this area or the minus area, then you need to use two tail to say that it always better. Sometimes, but for meta heuristic, sometimes we set on the left here is zero. So this one, if the difference is just more than the significant level, then you can reject. Then you can say it's you can reject and say it's different. Okay, for this one, I will not explain too detail because basically you can use tool for that. Just check the p-value or compare the value from the test statistic with the data in the table, statistical table. Okay. And then this is the how to calculate. Again, I will not go to detail on how to calculate. I don't know also if I can make it to calculate it manually, but normally we just use the computer to see whether it's the value of the t statistic is what, and then we compare with what we already have. Okay. This is another one. Okay. Okay, this yeah, this is one example on how to see oh wait. The previous one is the t-test is assuming that the variance of the for t-test, so mean variance of the sample are equal. But what if your variance is not equal? What should you do? Okay. Okay, you can use the f-test, which basically represent the same thing, but It's still parametric test. It's just like you can use the statistical test as parametric statistical test, even though the variance of the data, the sample data that you have is not equal. And then the way you take the conclusion is pretty much the same with the t-test. Okay. Okay, this is how do you use the table. It has two parameters. One and two. Yeah, two parameters to need to check this table. This one, the alpha normally for this one is 0.5%, and then you can check this one to get the degree of the F value. And then yeah, this is just a table. Okay, you can use I think I suggest you to use tools instead of the table because we will need to do this so many times. Okay, and then for this one, this is just an example. For example, if you have two algorithms solve minimization problems, okay, among the trial, the first algorithms, this one maybe, you will get the mean of 85 and variance of 16. So 12 times running, you get this mean and variance. Okay, another one is the number 2. You try 10 trials because maybe it's not easy to get the sample. It's not like us, just do algorithm, just run it and then you get the result. It's different things. Some people outside there also need to do performance or the assessment manually. So sometimes it's fails, sometimes it's not. So let's say it has 10. So the algorithms mean we can 21 and variance 25. Now, suppose the solution are normally distributed, so you can use t-test. The question is whether algorithm B is superior to algorithm A at the confidence level is 0.05. Okay, if you see again, A is 85, B is 21. But A, the variance is less, right? Even though the objective function is higher. But B, variance is high, even though objective function is slightly lower than the previous one. So the question is, which one is work better for minimization problems? At a glimpse, you see B, right? Because it's superior to A. But you need to prove it. You cannot say just, okay, based on this, the B is better. You need to prove it using, not prove it, show it by using the approach that we discussed earlier, statistical test. First, you need to check whether the variance are equal, okay? Okay, and then you use f-test to test it, and then you see, okay, here, yeah, actually you need to check the table, and let's say just believe on them, the variance are equal. If the variance are equal, you can use the t-test. Normally t-test, you also need to do it using the KS test. But now, let's say that we can use this student t-test to check the performance. So you need to calculate the key statistics. Okay, then you calculate and then you get the number. Okay, for this one we need to check it manually, but for the tools you just need to check the p-value of the models, and then you compare it with the here the confidence interval, the alpha. Okay. Yeah, 0.05, that one. If it is less, then what did you do? If it is greater, what did you do? This one using the p-value. But for this example, we use the statistical test using the table. Okay. Okay. Now let's see. What if the for this one we see that the value of this is greater than the this one. Okay, so this is from the table, so it's like this. Okay, okay, and this is here and then here. So the value of this is 1.75. Here is 1.725. Okay, 25. And then your value 2.0x is here. So this is belong to rejection area. Rejection mean there is significant difference between those two results. If there is significant difference, you see which one is better. Then you can state that one, okay, B is significantly better or significantly smaller than the A. Something like that. Okay, what if you failed the normality test or the equal variance test? You can also use the same approach, but using different tools, which is belong to non-parametric test, in which basically it has its own pair with the parametric test. For example, Wilcoxon sign test is equivalent with what, Mann-Whitney U test is equivalent with what, something like that. I don't really remember, but if I'm not mistaken, just I think this one ANOVA, this one belong to t-test is similar, or pairwise t-test. Okay, so just like that, just you need to change this one. Okay, I think that's the end of the slides. We don't have time to practice for this one, so hopefully later, if I have another chance, I will create another video for you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's stop recording.